Welcome back to First Light, the podcast where we illuminate the path to personal and professional transformation. I'm your host, Chris Keller, and today we're diving into one of the foundational elements of becoming the best version of yourself, nutrition. Our guest is an absolute powerhouse in the world of health and wellness. With over 30 years of experience as a registered dietitian, licensed nutritionist, certified diabetes education specialist, and national board certified health and wellness coach, Leslie Ann Crisco has dedicated her career to helping people transform their lives through the power of food and balanced living. She's also an accomplished author whose work inspires countless individuals to make better choices for their health. Leslie, we are so excited to have you here today. Welcome to First Light. All right, Leslie, I want to thank you for joining me today on First Light. And for those who may not know you, can you share a little bit about your journey and what inspired you to have a career in nutrition and wellness?
Well, yes, I'm a registered dietitian. I've been with that degree what feels like a million years. I graduated from Florida State a long time ago. And the truth is I wanted to help people through the fork. And so I fell into nutrition.
When you say through the fork, what does that mean?
Yeah, instead of through the knife. So I wanted to go into the medical profession, but I said, well, instead of, working on surgery and cutting people open, I'd rather prevent that from happening, and so create relationships with people. And I find that food is a common denominator and everyone can enjoy it.
Yeah, for me, nutrition was kind of the last piece of the puzzle for me. I started with so many other things first to transform my life of the past couple of years. And nutrition was always a tough one. I was always a stress eater, snacked a lot, and just didn't really make good, healthy choices. And I don't think I ever had that example of eating healthy until I hired you. And so when I hired you and really focused on nutrition, you educated me a lot. So talk about why nutrition is kind of that, sometimes can be that final piece for people in a lot of ways.
Just like what you said, stress eater, snacked a lot, not having that positive environment. So I feel as though, we have our days and we're set to do everything we need to do. And the last and final piece of most people is they come home and they have dinner. And food becomes their breath. And so food is the outlet for stress and anxiety and boredom and so many other things. Then it sort of even becomes not about the food.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about, I know you've done marathons, you've been an endurance athlete, but let's talk about the importance of really, truly fueling your body in a good way, in a positive way, in order to, whether you're an endurance athlete, whether you're a marathon runner or not, how important is nutrition to your everyday feeling?
So these are your nutrients that you put in your body. So people know them as macronutrients, protein, carbohydrates, and fat. I would love to encourage people with their micronutrients, your potassiums and your magnesiums and your calciums and your iron, because this is essentially the way that your body can run. So by putting this extra stress on it, we really need to include that quality fuel within the body. And that's really essential, along with sleep, stress, and motion. So if we don't sleep at night, your body's compromised. If you don't give yourself the right amount of nutrition, going on that run, you'll feel it in your body.
Yeah. Let's talk about for endurance athletes, because, for me, this morning I had a 5 a.m. run and 5 miles at 5 a.m. And then Sunday I had a long 19-mile run. So talk about how do you fuel your body in the right way to achieve these big endurance and physical feats?
Sure. So what I find most of the clients that come to me that are athletes, the taboo word are carbohydrates. Everyone's raised to kind of fear them. So when I went to school a million years ago, it was the fat. People were saying they were fat phobic, and so they would put in these extra carbohydrates. But now people are carbohydrate phobic, and that is the way that your muscles can run through that anabolic tissue through those carbohydrates. So pre-run, you do want to have a little bit of your carbohydrates, and then post-run, you want carbohydrates in analogous to your protein. And that's, again, your protein rebuilding. And then when you're off that, then that's when we really want to add in those micronutrients. For example, if you don't have enough magnesium, then your bones aren't going to work quite well. If you're lower in iron, then that's, you need the oxygen. So it's the big picture. And what I'd love to say is maybe the 80-20 rule. 80% of the time, you put in these quality nutrients. And the way we know what quality nutrients are is when they don't have labels. And it's that easy. So if you get, let's say, the baked potato where everyone is afraid of because they're like, oh my gosh, it's going to make me fat. There's no fat in a baked potato. It's going to give you that glycogen energy that you need for your stores. And then if you have that coupled with that quality protein, which between 1.2 to 1.5 grams per kilogram of body weight, and then fill it up with those vegetables, you can't go wrong.
Let's talk about for you, when we hear all these, and I tried them before hiring you and before getting Nutrition Matters Life. I tried Whole30, I tried keto diets and Atkins, all kind of the different, diets that you hear out there. And I know in talking to you, not necessarily a diet. So talk about if you want to lose weight or if you want to approach eating to lose weight and to get into shape. What's kind of the rule of thumb there?
Yeah. So to lose weight, we've got a certain amount of caloric intake to maintain us, to have our heart function, to have our, sorry, my phone's ringing, to have our heart beat for the energy. So we need just enough calories where we're expending slightly more than what we're utilizing. And that would be some positive weight loss. What people tend to do is they do these extreme type dietings. And so what happens is the pendulum swings in both ways. And I don't believe in that. I do believe in quality nutrients, 1 part protein, 1 part carbohydrate, hug your vegetables every 3 to 4 hours after dinner, kitchen closed. But saying that everyone does have a special thumbprint, like yours was exercise, and maybe we tend to have busy days where we're not eating enough. It's balancing, and it's looking at your body third party as an observer instead of being right in the middle of it. So to answer your question, in terms of the weight loss, that's what people focus on. I do like to say slightly hypocaloric foods, but nutrient-dense foods. And everyone, it's so different. So I saw a woman yesterday, and she was eating this food, and she says, it's not about my food. It's about my snacking. So real late at night, she's alone, and the ice cream just is calling her name, and it becomes that terrible habit, and you kind of fight with it. But if you just drop the rope and say, I look so forward to have my ice cream once a week, and it really defines everyone's nutrition is different. And that's what I love about it, because everyone has their own special thumbprint. And that's how people can really attain their goal. What I tell you is quite different than what I tell other people.
And I know you coach people like you've coached me with nutrition. Talk about how you go about coaching clients when it comes to nutrition.
Okay, so
What's your approach?
I'm writing a book on this because I'm so excited about my approach. My approach is quite different. So after 30 years of doing this, I've developed what's called a hand methodology. And your thumb is pretty much your history. So it's all your thoughts on food previously. So it's the thought of saying, I've been a chocoholic forever, or my mom said I was a picky eater. I was the, I hate the word, FAT kid. So it's all this stuff that's in your subconscious mind that you don't know. And 95% of what we do is based on our subconscious mind. So we're going to kind of unpack that. And then what I do is I take the better health and wellness. And this is where most people start. And I kind of feel like that's not going to solve the problem. It might put that Band-Aid on it, but we've got to rip off the Band-Aid and provide. So, for example, if you were afraid of carbohydrates, we're going to talk about that. And I want you to have carbohydrates in your diet. And if you're that person, I want you to have bread in the diet. I want you to have that occasional dessert. But we have to make it what's good for your special thumbprint. Being an athlete, a busy father, and someone that's highly successful, the food might be different from someone else. And then after we do that, we work on literally the sticky middle finger. And this is what I think you've done so well. So we become our habits. And we can unpack them and repack them. And then the way we can identify what the habits are is marrying our middle finger, which is our physical hunger and mental hunger. So if you're eating when you're starving, you're going to tend to overeat and eat when you're full. So you're full. My thought is if we can eat when we're pleasantly hungry and stop eating when we're pleasantly not hungry versus full, we're thinking more from our logical brain versus our subconscious brain. And the last one is the best, and that's what you're doing. It's your ikigai or your happiness. It's like, what can drive me to bring myself to eating better, because food is a hedonic pleasure. You know, we love food. We want to eat food. And we have a hard day. It's like we're catapulting ourselves to the refrigerator. We don't even know about it. We're just eating this food. But because you've got your Ironman, because you've got all these wonderful things that you're really, really hooking you, then our hook is not the stress relief of the food. The hook is, oh my goodness, I'm doing an Ironman. So that's the hand method approach.
I love it. Let's talk about the book. So tell us what the book's going to be called, when we can expect it out, and then talk us through the process of writing this book and taking this methodology and putting it into paper to share with the world.
Yeah. So I don't know what it's going to be called yet. I'm not sure, but it is my hand method approach. And the reason why I'm so excited for it is because when I started nutrition a million years ago, I used to give people diets and they come back and they'd be okay. And they're like, this is successful. This is great. I feel amazing. And that was my dessert, hearing that. And then it would be like, wah, wah, wah. 2 weeks later, I'm like, what happened? And they're like, I don't know. You know, my metabolism's slowing down. Things are just really hard. And life just sort of gets in the way. As we all know, that's what happens with food, where we don't plan going to the Miami Heat game, or we don't plan all this stuff. And then we're starving. And then we eat the bad food, and then the bad food starts calling our name. So that's why I said, there's something so much more than just eat this food. We tend to have this dogmatic approach, like if you eat this, you're going to lose weight, but that's not real life. So the hand method approach is really banking on this history that we don't realize. We're running out the door. We have the same foods. We have to take the kids. So many of my clients are rewarded with food, understandably so, and all of that. So we feel as though there's like a cacophony in our brain. Like mentally we want this food, but then we know we shouldn't have the food. And then we go to the doctor and they tell us, eat this certain way, or our spouse says, don't eat that food. So what we're doing, or what I want to do in this book, and I have done, is able to break it down through modules and kind of listen to that voice through third party, maybe writing it down, then getting what someone's personal nutrition needs are. So you're the athlete. Someone else might be a diabetic. Someone else might have food allergies or an eating disorder. Whatever it is, you have to look at that specifically and answer that question. You can't go on this random diet. Not that Whole 30. Whole 30's bad, but it doesn't fit your personal needs. And then again, to focus on those habits. But we don't focus on, oh my gosh, I can't have that ice cream. Saying, I am looking so forward to walking to the ice cream store every weekend with my child and having this amazing experience. And then again, to identify what part of my body is talking. Is it my eyes, because that food looks gosh darn good? Or is it my belly? But if it's my eyes, say, I can't wait to have that food when I'm hungry. And then I get to look forward to eating it. Maybe the leftovers, the second day of thinking, oh my gosh, this is all, I'm going to eat this right now because it's so good. And the minute after you eat it, like, why did I do it? And then again, the last part of the happiness is that you've said to me on many occasions, like, you feel really good. So when you're faced with the food in front of you, you're like, there's nothing better than this food. But if you pause it, how you feel really is what is your ikigai and what trumps everything.
Yeah. I think one of the things for me that was cool was sitting down with you, and the first part was education, right? I never had much of an education when it came to food, and so your approach with education first, and I remember we sat down in Whole Foods and we talked, and then obviously you could I had to miss some of it, but my wife got to take a tour of Whole Foods and showed her some good healthy food options. But talk about how important that education element is to making good choices, and I think so many of us lack education as it relates to eating.
Yes. So there was a study, and people find like tax is less confusing than nutrition. And it really depends on where people are coming into. So let's use the example carbohydrates. I feel like if people don't have carbohydrates in life, they're really cranky people. So carbohydrates is my view of like Prozac. We need it for the calming factor. So the education is what fits your specific thumbprint. I think when people think dieting, they think deprivation. They think fear. And I understand the anxiety of saying, I really need to lose weight, and if I eat that food, I'm going to just go backwards. So people underconsume, they restrict so much. And on the average, people do 20 of the same food items per week. So if you're like, oh, I can't have carbs, I can't have this, I mean, you're pretty much based on air. And of course, you're meant to fail. So I do suggest someone get yourself a registered dietitian because we have the board certification, not that someone that works in a gym or something is negative, but this is all we go to school for. And you will be so surprised. I have it time and time again. People are like, I can't believe how much I can eat and feel good and still lose weight.
Yeah, for me, the second part, past education, was accountability. Yeah. And by the time that I've tackled nutrition and hired you, I felt like I was a pretty disciplined person. Yet when it came to nutrition, I still lacked the discipline, and a lot of that was accountability. And I tried, the calorie tracking apps, and I'd have to go in and log my calories, and of course, and we know how far that went, didn't go great. But then when I hired you and I had to take a picture of the food I was eating and texting it to you to show you what my breakfast was, my lunch was, and dinner was, what a difference that made. So talk about that accountability partner when it comes to nutrition and how important it is to have a dietitian, nutritionist, or a coach like yourself along that journey, and how that accountability really plays such a role.
Yeah. So it's like you're going to a personal trainer or you're going to a therapist. The picture, that's like my secret sauce. So the picture is there's a pause moment. And the pause moment is taking yourself third party and saying, okay, I'm going to be eating this, instead of like, oh, I'm standing up and it doesn't matter. Just that pause moment, people are like, why do I really want to do this? And what is in it for me? So if you're actually looking at that plate, and if you just see sort of garbage food, it makes you really rethink things. So accountability is wonderful. We have it in schools. We take, tests, and accountability is you have a business and you have customers that are happy for whatever reason. Well, I know what reason is. You've got this emotional thing going on, and we don't even pay attention to the food items. And it literally takes 8 seconds. You're chewing it and it goes down through your digestive system, and we're so busy we just sort of forget about it. So that's what accountability does.
Yeah, I know it was huge for me to be able to, like you said, to pause and have to, wow, this is my plate, and kind of study it before I sent the picture to you to make sure, is this what I'm supposed to be eating? So it played such a big role. Talk about some practical tips or some actionable steps that people who are, trying to try to improve their nutrition can take today to really do it. I know I've referred some people to you, and so, but for people who are listening that maybe are not ready to hire a coach, what are some things that they could do right away, right now, to kind of start tackling nutrition?
Great question. So everyone comes to me and they'll tell me their diet recall and their food recall, and they start off with saying, I have a cup of coffee with no sugar, or one thing of cream, is that bad? And usually the beginning of the day isn't so what you have to worry about. It's usually dinner. So my tip for you or for anyone is early in the morning, focus on your dinner. And so what that does is it makes you defrost certain foods. It makes you accountable on the way home. Let me go to the grocery store. What food really is its preparation and the accountability. So if you know that the hardest time of your day is dinner or after dinner, make that plan. And, tackle the hard things first. Another thing is go ahead and open up your refrigerator and think how many food items are in there that will be calling my name in the middle of the night. So they did a really good study, and they analyzed secretaries. And these secretaries had these little things of chocolate where they can see it. And on the average, they had one a day when it was in front of them. Then they took the chocolate and they put it in another room, but they could still see it. There was 7, so that they had 9 in the course of a day. And then when they could see the chocolate off to the side, but it wasn't so quick, it was 7. And then they took the chocolate, but they put it in an opaque container behind them, and it was 2 or 3. So my thing is not to not have the food because you're not on a diet, but just make the active eating healthier, more attainable. Put those carrots on your counter instead of your holiday cookies. And that has huge results.
Let's talk about, I know for me, we kind of went there a little bit, but for me to prioritize eating, I'm so busy. I'm running from one place to the next. I'm often on the run. and it's a lot of times it's quick grab and go type stuff. So, what advice do you give to those busy professionals who live that chaotic life and how they can prioritize healthy eating?
Yeah. So it's so interesting because like people have their huge things of water, with them. And now like that's become the habit. And people see it like, oh yeah, you're going to drink all this water. Why not grab that banana that I gave you this morning? So just always have the stuff around. And my philosophy is don't see it, don't smell it, don't go hungry. And so if you can have that food in prevention, then that's 90% of it. But if you get into a meal and if you're starving, all bets are off.
The other thing for me was having 3 young kids. So I have a soon-to-be 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And so getting them to eat healthy things is a real challenge. And so I know one part of, I'm not going to blame them for gaining weight because I gained weight on my own without them, but I like to snack off their plates. And most of the time it was unhealthy stuff, chicken nuggets and mac and cheese, and I'd eat my full plate and then also snack on their plates. So talk about really establishing healthy eating for your children at a young age, and how those busy parents who are trying to get to soccer practice or dance recitals and all these after school activities and still find time to prepare a healthy dinner.
Yep. I love all of these questions because this is real life, and this is why 75% of the population's overweight, because we're racing everywhere. So if you talk about the mac and cheese, my daughter might need counseling right now, but she I put cottage cheese in like an Aunt Annie's. And so we had some healthier, and I threw some spinach in. And to this day, I know it's crazy, but like she loves that meal. And you could do the baked chicken nuggets. So whatever food prep you normally do, you can tweak it so it's a much healthier alternative. You don't have to have the kids eat spinach 3 times a day, but you can put it into your day always. And there's nothing wrong with food prep. So like on Sunday when people are watching football and doing something, I would make a whole bunch of stuff, stick it in the freezer. And then the day before, this is what I always said, what's dinner going to be like? So if you know that's the busiest time, then go ahead and take those Igloo coolers and allow your kids to still enjoy that wonderful food. And for you, if you can make a few positive changes in your household, I know it's real tough, but slowly just sort of get some stuff out of the house that that may not be as good for them. And then you can slide in some other food items, not to be too sneaky, but they'll eat what's there. And so studies do show that children do adapt to the foods that they're used to seeing.
Yeah, let's talk about that some more. So I think the hardest part for us was eliminating sugar. And my wife and I have done a great job for ourselves in eliminating sugar and making sure that the things that we are eating doesn't include sugar. It has no additional or no added sugar.
Because carbohydrates are sugar, yeah.
There are still things that we had that have sugar in them, obviously, but we tried to limit, and we have limited the additional sugar. But for our kids, we're still struggling with that. So talk about sugar and how sugar really plays into everything that goes on in our bodies, and how we really eliminating sugar, the benefits there.
Okay, so carbohydrates, glucose, galactose, sucrose, fructose, forget your nutrition 101, who needs that? But those are all sugar, but in different forms. So if you were having, let's say, a baked potato, you've got the fiber, you've got the potassium, and that does have sugar, but in a different form. So the idea is just bringing in more of the slow acting. So if you go to the farmer's market with your kids and you get all this wonderful fruit and these quality starchy carbs for vegetables that has the sugar, your body does react to the extra sugar in your brain. So I'm not being too woo-woo. There is, and I'm sure you felt it, like when you had less of the sugar, you're not as much attracted to it. And so the hard part is like how to, and I don't like to use the word detox, but how to separate yourself, and you just sort of slowly bring these food items in where you're not going to feel so much of, oh my gosh, I can't have these foods. And what your kids, whatever they get at school, they get at school. But if they have their household is relatively healthy or having some other food items, then you can kind of have your cake and eat it too. Not to say that you can't have these food items when you go out to dinner or when you go for, a dessert or a birthday party. Have it, but in your house, for the most part, just try and have the foods, again, that don't have the extra added sugar if possible.
One thing I wanted to talk about with you, because, getting you to craft a meal plan for me and help me kind of come up with what my day should look like, how many calories I should be consuming, at what time I should be, consuming them, made a big difference for me as well. And, a lot of people may be thinking, wow, that must be nice to have a coach, and wow, it must be nice to have someone craft a meal plan for you. But, when you really think about the amount of money that we spend at the store or going to Starbucks or all those types of things, you could go hire a nutritionist who can help you make some better choices and actually save you money, not just short term with what's in your pocket, but long term with doctor's visits and that kind of thing. So talk about really being able to get a coach and what a coach can do for you.
So I'm going to use you for example. You had a hook, and the hook is your a true paradigm shift of everything, which is amazing. So I do want to say, if someone's ready and prepared to make these changes, I think you spoke of it. It's not easy. It's hard. It's conscious. So having said that, if you do have someone to support you with this, I feel you're that person that can know it. You can always get a book and read it, but to have the extra interaction can matter for that individual. And I'm going to give you a plug here, not because, but you took the information and you made it happen. And so we all have choices in our life, and some people may not progress as quickly as you did. It was like a true paradigm shift. It was just sort of like, okay, I'm going to do it. And definitely you have your sometime food and all the time food. If someone's ready for that, it just helps. It just makes life easier. So
I mean, having you to give me, just things to reach. I mean, the biggest thing for me has been avocado toast.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the avocado toast now. Whenever I'm kind of hungry, I reach for that. Or the other big thing I love is the peanut butter and banana. So just knowing that I can have those two snacks, man, it made all the difference in my day and how I approach my day. And then also just, knowing that certain things I could reach for, I didn't have to feel bad about. So getting that education really made a big difference for the listeners who may feel stuck in their health journey and just don't really know what to do. What's that first step that you would tell them?
Oh, that's wonderful. Okay, I just want to talk about this avocado toast. So everyone's grandparents are like, what is that? And now it's actually on the menu. So I want that to translate into the person that's stuck and say, what are 2 or 3 things that I can do within that course of my day? I would have them look at just the hard. People don't want to look at the hard stuff. Look at the hard stuff first and think, okay, it's sort of like a contract. It's like, well, what can I deal with? And if it's a portion size item, then say, well, can I start off? Studies show if you have a salad before a meal, it helps reduce meal consumption about 30%. If you have these loves of foods, instead of every day, could I do it every 3rd day? If you feel as though you have certain types of food addictions, again, could you bring it over your best friend's house and then have it there? So the idea is really looking at the Achilles heel and, coming to terms with it, thinking, how can I manage this? Instead of saying, I have to give up this food forever, like alcohol for some. I have to do this forever. I don't look at it like that. Say, where's the win-win mentality?
That's awesome. Well, Leslie, I want to thank you so much for spending your time with us and educating us on nutrition. I know it was the last thing for me to tackle, but the difference that it's made has just been amazing. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Leslie, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and insights with us today. Your passion for empowering others to take control of their health and well-being is truly inspiring. And as always, keep shining your light and striving to be your best. Until next time, this is First Light.